All right, so get ready because today we're diving into some pretty out there stuff.
Yeah, this was wild.
You sent us this transcript from a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
It was a past life regression hypnosis session,
Yeah?
and get this, it was originally in Polish.
Wow, in Polish.
Yeah, we had it translated just for this deep dive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You really go all out for these deep dives.
Well, we love to give our listeners the full experience, right?
Absolutely.
So past life regression, I mean, this is some pretty deep stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's like the idea that our consciousness like keeps going, you know? Maybe it's not just limited to this one life we're living now.
Yeah, and some people believe that unresolved issues from those past lives, if they're real, they can really mess with us, like in our current life.
Yeah, they can totally impact us today.
It's a trip.
It is a trip. So we're going to
Okay.
unpack this session, but not to like decide if it's true or not, you
Right.
know? We're just going to see where it takes us. Okay.
Sounds good.
So this video shows a hypnotist named Camila working with this woman named Edyta. And Camila is like guiding Edyta back to a past life that seems to be full of trauma, especially like one really bad event.
So like this idea that one single event can just like echo through time, right?
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
It's like a ripple effect. It's like a big reason why people are so drawn to past life regression. They're searching for the root cause of something they're dealing with now. Like what's at the heart of their struggles?
Totally. And maybe it's not even from this life. Makes you think, right?
It really does.
Okay, so Edyta is under hypnosis, right? And she's transported all the way back to 1672.
Whoa, 1672.
Yeah, like back when they wore those big wigs and stuff.
I bet.
She finds herself as this young woman, maybe 15, 16 years old.
So young.
And she's forced into a marriage with this much older dude. She gets pregnant almost immediately and gives birth to a son named Noah.
Oh, wow.
But then tragedy strikes. Noah dies at just 4 years old. He's run over by horses.
Oh my gosh, that's awful. Even just hearing about it, it's just heartbreaking. And like we can't fact check these events or anything, but Edyta's emotional response under hypnosis, it's real.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you wonder about like the support systems back then. Like could anyone have helped her deal with that kind of loss?
And get that it gets worse.
It gets worse.
Yeah. So later she has a daughter who dies at just 3 months old.
Oh no.
Can you imagine the despair? I mean, it's just unimaginable.
This is devastating.
So after her daughter's death, she's completely consumed by grief. She just can't see a way forward and ends up drowning herself.
Suicide as like a way out of that kind of sorrow. It's a tragic end to a life that was already so difficult. But there's this twist. This is what really got me in the transcript.
Okay, I'm all ears.
So during the session, they find something else going on. Like there's this manipulative entity that's attached to her. It looks like a praying mantis.
A praying mantis? What, like the insect?
Yeah, it's super weird. It seems to have latched on to Edyta when she was forced into that marriage, and it's feeding off her negative emotions, especially her disgust towards her husband.
Well, hold on. So it's not just the trauma of those events, but there's something actually like benefiting from her pain.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. The transcript says this entity is projecting like religious holograms and influencing people to worship them. And the more intense Edyta's emotions get, the stronger this entity becomes.
It's like this mantis thing is feeding off of her, right? Like some kind of parasite.
Yeah, and this idea of energy being like a force that can be manipulated, it's not just in this story. It pops up in a lot of spiritual traditions. This idea that our negative emotions can be fuel for something else.
So we could be feeding something with our anger and sadness and fear.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And frankly, it makes you think, like, even today, what or who might be benefiting from our negativity?
That's kind of a scary thought.
I know, right?
So how does all this connect to Edyta's life now? Like in the present day?
Yeah, that's what we're going to get into next. The transcript suggests that both the trauma from that past life and this mantis entity are still messing with her today.
You're kidding.
Nope. We're talking depression, sexual blockages, fears, self-doubt problems, sleeping, even physical sensations. It's like her past is bleeding into her present.
So she's like totally hit rock bottom in this past life, but then there's this whole other layer, this idea that even after death, the trauma is not over. It makes you wonder, right? Have you ever felt like something was holding you back, like from a past you can't even remember?
It's a question a lot of people ask themselves. And this transcript actually gives us some things to look out for. Like Edyta is dealing with depression, sure, but it's also these very specific fears and even physical sensations.
So it's like her body's remembering something her mind can't access.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the work of people like Dr. Brian Weiss comes in. He's done tons of research on past life regression therapy, and he says that these random anxieties or phobias we have could be rooted in past life experiences.
Like maybe we're not afraid of spiders just but because of something that happened in a past life.
It's a possibility.
So what happens next in the session? Does Camilla try to help Edyta deal with this entity and the trauma?
Yeah, she does. The transcript talks about all these powerful visualizations and energy clearings. Edyta actually confronts her past life experiences head on. She releases all those bottled up emotions and basically reclaims her power.
That sounds intense,
Yeah.
but also kind of liberating.
It is. It really highlights how important it is to actively take part in our own healing.
Right.
It's not just about figuring out the past. It's about actually doing something to release what's not good for us anymore.
What about that mantis entity? Is she able to get rid of it?
Yeah, she is. One of the techniques Camila uses is having Edyta to visualize cutting the energetic ties with the mantis.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a really powerful image. It shows how we can set boundaries, even with things that seem totally out of our control.
That must have taken a lot of courage.
Definitely. The transcript also mentions Edyta clearing residual energy from past partners in this life, which I thought was interesting.
What do you mean?
Well, it suggests that these energetic attachments can build up over time, and that clearing them out can be a super important part of healing.
Like energetic baggage from past relationships.
Exactly.
So how does Edyta feel after the session? Like, is there a noticeable change?
Oh, yeah, totally. The transcript describes a huge shift in her energy. She feels lighter, more confident, more in control of her life. It's like a massive weight has been lifted off her shoulders.
It's amazing how such a big change can happen in such a short amount of time. But is it lasting? Like, you go to a therapist, you feel better for a bit, but then those old patterns come creeping back.
That's a really good point. And what's interesting is that the change in Edyta wasn't just temporary. She actually took steps to keep it going.
What did she do?
She started setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and protecting her energy from being manipulated in the future.
So she took ownership of her own healing.
Exactly.
Mhm.
She realized that healing's not a one-time thing. It's a journey.
It's like a lifelong process.
Totally.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Edyta's traumatic past life, this creepy mantis thing and her incredible transformation. But what does all this mean for our listener? What can they take away from this deep dive?
Yeah, what's the takeaway here?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that we all have a story, a history that goes beyond this current life. And those past experiences, whether we remember them or not, can have a huge impact on us now.
Like those fears and anxieties we can't explain, or that feeling of being stuck in the same loop over and over again. Maybe it's not just bad luck. Maybe it's something deeper.
Right. And even if you're not totally sold on this whole past life thing, this session shows us how important it is to face our own darkness, process our trauma, and take responsibility for our own energy.
It's empowering in a way to think that we have the power to break free from those old patterns and create a better reality for ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's where this idea of reclaiming our scattered energy comes in. This was another technique they used in the session, and it's really fascinating.
Scattered energy. What's that all about?
Okay, so imagine every time we go through something traumatic, a part of our energy gets broken up and scattered. Like pieces of our soul get lost in different timelines or dimensions.
So it's not just that the trauma stays with us, but that we're literally leaving parts of ourselves behind in those past experiences.
That's the idea. And reclaiming that scattered energy is about integrating those lost parts of ourselves, becoming whole again. The transcript talks about Edyta visualizing, gathering up these fragments of her energy from different points in time, and it's a key part of her healing.
It makes you wonder about the ripple effects of trauma. If our energy can be scattered across different timelines, what does that mean for how we understand time and consciousness?
It's mind-blowing, right? It opens up all these possibilities for healing and self-discovery.
This deep dive is blowing my mind. It's making me question everything I thought I knew about reality.
And that's the beauty of exploring these unusual topics. It pushes us to challenge our assumptions and think about different perspectives.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. We've explored Edyta's past life trauma, that manipulative mantis entity, her incredible transformation, and this whole concept of reclaiming scattered energy. Before we wrap things up, what's one final thought you want to leave our listener with?
Well, if consciousness can actually transcend lifetimes like this session suggests, then maybe healing isn't just about fixing the wounds of this life. It's about weaving together all the fragmented pieces of ourselves from across time and space.
Whoa, it's like we're not just you and me, right? It's like we're these multidimensional beings carrying all this baggage from who knows how many lives. That's intense.
Yeah, it really makes you think about personal responsibility in a whole new way.
Right.
Right? Like if our choices and experiences can echo through different timelines, Maybe healing isn't just about fixing what's broken in this life, but about becoming more whole, more integrated across all those different versions of ourselves.
So like every choice we make, every experience, good or bad, it could have like a much bigger impact than we realize.
Exactly. And that leads us to a final, really thought-provoking question.
Mm.
Okay. If this idea of consciousness going beyond lifetimes, if that has any merit,
Yeah.
what does it mean for how we understand healing? Is it even possible to fully heal if there are parts of us scattered all over the place in different times and dimensions?
That's a big one. And honestly, I don't know if there's an easy answer. But you know what I get from all of this? From Edyta's story and this whole idea of past lives.
Yeah.
Hope.
Yeah, I get that.
Uh,
Even if we can't wrap our heads around the whole consciousness thing or all the complexities of time, Edie's experience shows us that change is possible. We can face our past, let go of the stuff that's holding us back, and step into a more empowered present.
it's like we're not just victims of our past, we're active participants in our own healing and growth. That's pretty amazing to think about.
It really is. And even if you're not sure what to believe about past lives, I think Edita's journey offers some valuable lessons for anyone who's looking to heal and grow. You know, pay attention to those patterns in your life, those fears that seem to pop up out of nowhere. Maybe they're trying to tell you something.
And remember, there are tools and techniques out there like energy clearing and past life regression therapy that can help you access those hidden parts of yourself and reclaim your power.
Totally. The journey might be tough, but the rewards can be life-changing.
Well, I think we've officially hit peak deep dive for today. From a past life filled with trauma to a creepy mantis entity and this mind-blowing idea of reclaiming scattered energy, we've explored some seriously uncharted territory.
It's been quite a ride. And a reminder that there's always more to learn, more to discover about ourselves and this crazy universe we live in.
Thank you for going on this journey with us. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.